Hi, my name is Elena Burkhart, and this is my applied assignment presentation. All right, going right into the pre-work. My topic was the inclusion of individuals with disabilities in educational settings. I chose this perspective to take a look at inclusive educational practices that empower all learners and address barriers for individuals with disabilities. I chose the aspect of education, the learning environment, and the opportunities that are provided to students with disabilities impacting their future. For my interview, I chose to interview a caregiver in my community. Why did I do this? To gain insight into their experiences with inclusive education and understand the challenges faced both inside and outside of school regarding access to inclusive practices. My knowledge at the time was still developing. Over the past 2 semesters, I've learned about the significance of representation and inclusivity in various contexts. These classes really showed me the importance of ensuring all voices are heard, especially those of marginalized groups. And I think that I really leaned into this understanding for my project because it pushed me to analyze how inclusivity impacts educational practices and the experience of individuals with disabilities. For research, my first class resource was Equity Gaps for Students with Disabilities. It highlighted significant inequities faced by students with disabilities, particularly those who are low income and students of color. It also emphasized the unique challenges students encounter in educational settings. The author provides a critical analysis of inclusion, telling about common obstacles in these practices. It discussed the historical context of disability in education, highlighting the need for systematic change in educational policies. Lastly, it advocates for educational practices that respect and honor the diverse identities of all students, which aligns with my goal of effective inclusion. This was increasing positive attitudes towards individuals with disabilities through community service learning. The study explores how community service significantly improved attitudes towards individuals with disabilities. Research shows that college students' perceptions improved after participating in service activities with individuals with disabilities. It emphasized the importance of direct contact and interaction in fostering understanding and acceptance. The author discusses how equal status interactions can effectively reduce prejudice and discrimination, providing a practical framework for educators and institutions. Overall, it is relevant to my research because it is promoting positive attitudes and implementing inclusive practices within schools and communities. For my first external resource, I chose a systematic review on inclusive education research, identifying concerns over children with disabilities. It addresses the changes and concerns related to inclusive education for children with disabilities. It identifies specific issues like inadequate infrastructure, a shortage of trained teachers, and negative societal attitudes towards disabilities. The resource offers practical recommendations to enhance inclusive education, including the implementation of universal design for learning. This aligns with the broader need to improve access to effective education practices for children with disabilities. My second external resource was Rethinking Education Towards a Global Common Good. It reports that 93 million children under the age of 14 live with a moderate to severe disability, emphasizing the right to education. It highlights the significant gaps in school attendance and the importance of quality education, not just access. It notes challenges in gathering accurate data about children with disabilities, which can hinder effective policy making. It discusses that education has the potential to act as an equalizer, particularly for disadvantaged children. It also addresses how factors such as gender, income, and disability intertwine to exacerbate educational exclusion. Moving into evidence with my interview, I interviewed somebody within my community who's a caregiver. I met her at a cafe, and I had printed my interview questions, and I decided to write them out because I'm way faster at writing than typing. So this is just a photo of one of the completed interview pages that I did with my writing, which is a little sloppy, but again, I just felt like I could write faster than I could type. Going into learning, new learning, this is what I learned about inclusion. In the workplace, individuals with disabilities often experience fear of judgment from colleagues, which can lead to significant reduction in job engagement. This fear, compounded by persistent stereotypes, creates a stress-filled environment that can diminish job satisfaction and overall productivity. Such stereotypes not only misrepresent the abilities of individuals, but also perpetuate a culture of disengagement among disabled employees. In educational settings, the fear of confirming negative stereotypes can severely limit academic aspirations for students with disabilities. This pressure can lead to disengagement from the learning process, resulting in lower performance outcomes. The impacts of these stereotypes can create a self-fulfilling prophecy where students do not reach their full potential due to the expectations placed upon them. One of my biggest takeaways from this class is equity and the caregiver involvement. When reading a class resource, Equity, Parental/Caregiver, Power, and Disability Policy in the U.S., and this is what I primarily discussed in my critical disposition essay, but I learned that when caregivers are engaged, it directly impacts educational outcomes for students with disabilities. The influence of caregivers can vary greatly based on the socioeconomic status and racial background. Systematic inequities often prevent diverse families from fully realizing their rights and accessing necessary resources. Families from higher socioeconomic backgrounds frequently have an advantage in obtaining educational services for their children. In contrast, lower-income families face significant hurdles limiting access to vital support and resources. One of the biggest things I learned is that we must advocate for policies that create a level playing field for all caregivers and their families. And then this is one of the biggest points I learned from my interview is that it is essential that every caregiver feels empowered to voice their needs and advocate for their children's education effectively. A few other important takeaways from the class for me was we should continuously challenge the systematic inequities that persist in our educational systems. Engaging in open discussions about equity and inclusion is important. Ongoing education for caregivers, educators, and communities alike is necessary to foster inclusive environments. While legal frameworks exist to support equity, we must actively address the barriers that hinder access and fair treatment. Achieving true equity in education requires collaboration and commitment from all stakeholders. Together we can create an inclusive environment where each student can thrive. Moving into access. Financial strain is a significant barrier for individuals with disabilities seeking necessary supports. The high costs associated with assistive technologies, therapies, and specialized services often limit their access and opportunities for success. There is an urgent need for improving training and understanding among staff who work with individuals with disabilities. Educational and workplace environments must prioritize training that enhances staff knowledge of diverse needs who can significantly reduce stigma and improve inclusion. Now, something that I want to know is how can I participate in creating positive change? I think one effective way is to start by joining local advocacy groups and attending community meetings. These gatherings provide a platform where our voices can be heard, and they allow us to connect to others who share our vision for a more inclusive society. Additionally, I think it could be meaningful to collaborate with organizations focused on disability rights. My question for my peers is, what class resource sparked meaningful discussion outside of the classroom in your life? As I stated before, equity, parental caregiver, power, and the disability policy in the U.S. context was really meaningful for me. So much that I would spark up discussion outside of class with my husband. So I'm curious as to what made you guys spark up discussion outside of class. That is all. Thank you for watching and have a good day.